Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John. We're still in John chapter 7 today, beginning at verse 25. Now you remember Jesus is in Jerusalem for the Festival of the Tabernacles. He's begun to teach in the temple area. And there's a lot of confusion about him. Some are saying, well, where did you get all this teaching? And he reminds them it comes from my Father, for I and the Father are one. And so they begin to wonder, isn't this the one the leaders are after? That's what they're talking about in verse 25. So at this point, some of the people in Jerusalem began to ask, is not this the man they're trying to kill? They're referring to the Jewish leadership who wants to do away with Jesus. But here he is, he's speaking publicly, and they are saying not a word to him. Have the authorities really concluded that he is the Messiah? But we know where this man is from. When the Messiah comes, no one will know where he comes from. So you see the confusion of the crowd. They know the leadership is opposed to him, but yet here he is teaching. They haven't arrested him. Maybe they think he is the Messiah, the crowd says, but we know where he comes from. I thought when the Messiah showed up, we would not know these things. So there's a lot of discussion, a lot of confusion about exactly who Jesus is. So Jesus, who is still teaching in the temple courts, he cried out, yes, you do know me, and you do know where I am from. But I am not here of my own authority. He who sent me is true. You do not know him, but I know him because I am from him and he sent me. So you notice Jesus says, you may know where my earthly origin was. You know my hometown, in other words. What you don't know is that I am from the Father. Of course, that's a claim to be the pre-incarnate Son. I am from the Father and the Father has sent me. Now at this point, they tried to seize him, that is the leadership. But no one laid a hand on him, for the hour had not yet come. God's timing was not right. When it talks about the hour coming, that's the hour when Jesus will sacrifice himself on the cross. But that time is not here yet. So even though they want to arrest him, they're prevented. Still, many in the crowd did believe in him, and they said, when the Messiah comes, will he perform more signs, more miracles than this man? So even though the leadership is opposed, and even though there's confusion in the crowd, there are many who are believing. Surely he must be the Messiah. We can't answer all of our questions about him, but we look at these signs, look at the miracles. Listen to the teaching. He must be the Messiah. Now the Pharisees, they heard the crowd whispering such things. They heard some were saying he must be the Messiah. So the chief priest and the chief priest and the Pharisees sent their temple guards to arrest him. They're trying to put him under arrest, take him off the streets, get rid of him. Jesus says, I'm with you for only a short time, and then I'm going to the one who sent me. I'm going to return to the Father. You will look for me, but you will not find me. Where I am, you cannot come. So the Jews said to one another, where does he intend to go that we cannot find him? Will he go where our people live scattered among the Greeks and teach the Greeks? That is reference to the Jews in what's called the dispersion, those who live outside of the area of Judah. Is he going amongst our brothers scattered around the Mediterranean world where we can't reach him? What did he mean when he said, you'll look for me, you'll not find me? Where I am, you cannot come from. There's all this confusion because they simply will not comprehend that Jesus is from the Father. If they realized he's from the Father and believed, then they would always talk about going back to the Father. But if they refuse to believe that, then his words become total and complete confusion. So during the days of the festival, all this is going on. Now remember, the Festival of Tabernacles lasts for 7 days. And Jesus began to teach a little bit after the festival begins, but as the days pile up, all these questions are swirling in the crowd. Some are saying, yes, he's the Messiah. Others are saying, well, he can't be. We know where he came from. Some are saying, what does he mean he's going to go away? We can't reach him. They don't understand any of these things. And at the same time, the leadership has sent their guards, their temple guards, to arrest him. And yet, for some reason, they're prevented. Not physically prevented, but for some reason, they can't go through with it. That's in God's providential grace, for the hour has not yet come. So you see all of these conflicting things happening at once as Jesus is teaching the people the word of the Father. Now it's interesting, if you go ahead a few verses, it says in around verse 43 that the temple guards, they go back to the chief priests, they go back to the Pharisees, and they ask them, why didn't you bring him in? Why didn't you arrest Jesus? And the guard says, no one has ever spoke the way he does. We can't arrest him. So providentially, by the grace of God, they are prevented from arresting Jesus. Now this brings us to the very last day of the festival, the seventh day. Remember, the festival goes 7 days. And it says in verse 37, Jesus has an announcement to make. But we're going to look at that tomorrow. So come and be with us for our next 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John. And we'll look at verse 37 of chapter 7, the pronouncement Jesus makes on the last day of the Festival of Tabernacles. Hope you join us then.